And as much as there's a lot going on in the country, of course, distractions around a lot of the stories making news, we just want to take 10 minutes of your time to talk about financial planning, especially ahead of the holiday period, because it seems to catch a lot of us unawares. You kind of know it's going to happen, December is going to come, but the moment November begins to edge in, you say, you know, panic mode. So right next to us we have Bob Ndobi, who is a financial expert, and he'll try and answer some of our questions around how to plan for the holiday period. Bob, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you, Janet.
Right, so like I've said, we always seem to find ourselves in panic mode when the holidays approach. Why is this a Kenyan thing? Is this something that you experience in other places you've been? What makes us panic when the holidays approach?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, it's largely a Kenyan thing.
It's largely a Kenyan thing.
You know, you keep postponing and hoping that at some stage something is going to happen. There's going to be a windfall. Some money will come from somewhere. You know, but the reality of it all is that it comes down to you have to plan for it.
Yeah.
Holidays are going to come, Christmas is going to come, January is going to come.
Okay.
That's the reality we have to live with.
How do you begin to set a financial plan? We're looking specifically at the holiday period going into the new school year. How do you begin to put a plan aside?
Planning, usually, if you're looking at finances and planning, you're looking at two things. What are your sources of income? How much are you expecting? And what are the things you're going to spend your money on? What are the must expenses? There is school fees in January. If you live in a rental house, there's rent to be paid. There are bills, you know, there's Kenya Power, there's water, there's, you know, if you have a patient, all those things. So in terms of planning, then we have to look at two things. We have to start from what is your income? What are your sources of income? What are you expecting? Versus what are you spending on?
Okay. Let's look at a practical example, and maybe this is where we can begin to use this. Coletta Lucy wrote in on SMS, and she says, hi, how do I manage to take my children for holidays at the same time save for next year's school fees when I'm earning as little as 30,000 Kenya shillings monthly? Maybe you can try and help her break down. So we start with 30,000 and see how she can achieve everything that she hopes to.
Okay, Coletta, let's look at 30,000 shillings, and I hope this can be seen.
Yeah.
You are earning at 30,000 shillings.
Yes.
Now, thing about money is that you must cut your jacket according to your size. If you earn 30,000 shillings and you're trying to live a lifestyle of somebody doing 1,000,000 shillings, obviously you're going to be in trouble. So you break this down to what are the things you need to do. You're looking at, let's start from the basics, you're looking at rent.
Okay.
What percentage of this should go into your rent? You're looking at the bills here, I'm talking about power.
Yeah.
You're looking at food.
Yeah. You're
looking at transport.
Okay. So these are the priorities. That's why you're putting them first.
Yes.
Okay.
Transport.
Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead. Well, I see where you're going. Okay.
Yes, but what I'm trying to say is the living expenses.
Yeah.
You look at them first, and then you're looking at if you have. She talks about having children. Then you're looking at school fees in January. You're looking at uniform. You're looking at the basic. You know, supplies for a child going to school. How much are they going to cost? Now, this is what you must keep in mind. If you earn 30,000 shillings, then obviously, where you live in terms of rent, it will be suicidal if you live in a place that takes more than 20% of what you're earning. So you break that down. How much are you spending on food? Obviously, if you're earning 30,000 shillings, then you have to adjust from a 5-star lifestyle to what you can afford. Now, once all this has been catered for, then you look at then what are the necessities going into January? What kind of schools are you taking your children to?
Okay.
And those must be the things you look at before you think about holiday.
So prioritize that way. Necessities, priorities, and then you can look at the holiday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And of course, people usually have a very exuberant way of looking at holiday spending. That's also something you have to consider if you want to live within your means, correct?
Yes. Yeah. First, we have to appreciate that the pressure is there. The pressure is there from your friends, if you work, or business colleagues. The pressure is there from your own children. But remember that you're the adult here, so you have to make the final decision. If you give in to the pressure, you're going to pay for it one way or another. So you give in to the pressure and do holiday spending. January comes, and there's no money to spend. So, but in terms of holiday, we also have to start appreciating that holiday doesn't have to be necessarily expensive. A lot of us could start holidaying if we started planning much earlier, and you say, look, this is what I can afford, I can take this much, and then you can set aside, say, 2,000 shillings a month. Look at, if you operate in Nairobi, for example, what are the destinations around Nairobi that you can use public transport? You might not necessarily even need to live in a 5-star hotel. You can live in the surrounding, you know. And now we are talking of things like you know, exchanging homes, where you can go and live in somebody's home.
The Airbnb concept.
Airbnb,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good point, actually. You can consider that, because it will minimize your expenses quite a bit.
Yes.
Be that as it may, what is, do you think, from your experience, is the biggest challenge across the board, no matter the demographics that people come from, when it comes to financial planning, especially for Kenyans? What is the biggest issue across the board that you tend to see?
The biggest issue across the board, I think, two things. One, I think I could call it lack of knowledge. We have this Father Christmas mentality that somehow money is going to come from nowhere. You know, money is not coming from anywhere. Money has to be earned. So you must remember that. Number two, we always feel like, you know, look at the way we do burials and funerals and unfortunately things like weddings and when somebody falls sick, we bring in the clan, you know, the tribe. Now, we have to start accepting that as the economy moves, as modernity sets in, we are getting more individualistic, so you have to plan for yourself. Nobody is going to step in to do for you what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us any step-by-step tips for better financial planning, especially during this period. I think Coletta talked about something that touches on many: family, school fees, holiday, and yet you have debt, you have loans. So step-by-step, are there maybe 3 tips that you think people should keep in mind when planning for this period? Yes. Step number 1. Yeah. I don't know if you can, if you have space, or if you want me to help you, but okay, I think that's fine.
Okay. Step number one. Yeah. Look at your income.
Okay.
How much are you expecting? Right? Step number 2. What are your expenses?
Yeah. Okay.
Now, income here, I have to say something. If you are in employment, obviously your income is salary. But you know, Kenyans now have something we call a side hustle. Remember that this is not restricted. It doesn't matter where you work, so long as there's no conflict of interest. If there's a way you can, you know, expand your income, that helps. Okay. Now the thing is, increase your income, lower your expenses.
Increase your income, lower your expenses.
Yes. Okay. There are those expenses that look like needs, but they're not. Really.
Some people look at increase your income, increase your expenses. So that's the wrong mentality.
That's the wrong mentality. Yeah. Okay. And then, so look at your income, look at your expenses. Number 3, you talked about debt.
Yeah.
Well, the nature of modern living is that almost all of us are in one debt or another. You know, hire purchase, take an account loan and all that. Now, 2 things. What are the debts that you can do without? Okay. What are the most expensive debts you can start by paying off? And if need be, if sometimes, because this happens, it happens to us at individual level, it happens to companies, it happens to even countries. If need be, if you find that your debt repayment is making it hard for you to meet your expenses, then it's important that you look at ways of restructuring your debt. Okay. Yes.
How different is financial planning, you've just touched on it, for those who are employed vis-a-vis those who are self-employed? What's the mentality shift there?
The principle is the same. You have to look at your income, you have to look at your expenses. Maybe the major difference is, if somebody is in business, then 2 things. One is that your income is not, sometimes it's not predictable. You could earn 10,000 this month and 200 million the next month, or the other way around.
Yeah.
So you have to put into consideration that the nature of income, the frequency, and the reliability.
Okay.
Yes.
Do people need a financial planner for this? Because some may be overwhelmed and think, while all this is really good advice, I don't really know where to start. I don't really know how to put it together. Do you necessarily need a financial planner or not so?
Well, it depends on where you find yourself. If you feel like you're overwhelmed, fine. Just talk to somebody who can guide you through the steps. But by and large, most of these are very easy to follow steps.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing some of that insight with us. I know this is something that we'll be coming back to pretty often because we're approaching December. I don't know whether it's too late for those. It's now November. It's the 2nd of November. It's not too late, right?
Well, it's late, but not too late.
It's late, but it's not too late.
Yes.
All right. Bob
Right.
Duby, financial expert, thank you so much for shedding light on that. And of course, we'll sample some of your feedback towards the end of this newscast. Do stay with Citizen Business Center.
Right. Thank you very much.
Okay.